Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely flip the script on how you think about sleep. Think about it. How much of our inner life do we just toss in the trash the second that morning alarm goes off? We treat it like it's totally disposable. But what if those weird, blurry visions you barely remember over your morning coffee were actually a literal goldmine of data?
So let's challenge a really common assumption right out of the gate. Are your dreams just random, fleeting images, or are they actually encrypted messages? For the longest time, it's been super easy to write off our nighttime visions as just, neurological static, like the brain is just taking out the day's trash. But the source material we're diving into today completely reframes that whole perspective. It basically asks us to stop looking at these moments as temporary and meaningless and start seeing them as highly structured, deeply intentional data.
Because the reality is, your dreams are coded narratives of your psyche. They aren't just fleeting images, they are dense, incredibly rich archives. And our source reveals that these archives hold things like your subconscious cycles, deep emotional imprints, and hidden opportunities that are quite literally just waiting to be discovered. Once you start treating your past dreams as these highly detailed archives of your inner world, everything shifts. You start to realize that every single symbol, every place you visit in your sleep, and every recurring face you see is actually acting as an encrypted record of your own mind.
Which brings us to Section 1, the Encrypted Dream Archive, decoding your personal mythology. Let's get right into it.
According to our source material, every single dream you have carries distinct layers. On the very surface, you've got the surface story, right? That's the literal, usually completely bizarre plot you wake up remembering. But right beneath that lies the archetypal pattern. And this is the deeper, emotional resonance that's hidden just below that chaotic surface story. Basically, the surface is just the wrapping paper. The archetypal pattern is the actual encrypted record we're trying to crack open.
And recurring figures and places act as highly specific codes here. Take wandering through endless corridors, for example. The encrypted meaning there isn't actually about architecture at all. It usually reflects unresolved choices in your waking life. Or think about flying without wings. That's a really common one, and it's a clear signal of liberation from constraints. The specific, crazy imagery is honestly just a vehicle for a really specific, deeply emotional message.
Which brings us to this absolutely beautiful concept, your personal mythology. The source defines this as a collection of motifs repeating across time. When you start tracking these recurring symbols, like the corridors, the flying, maybe specific people or towns, over weeks, months, or even years, you realize you're actually reading your own ongoing personal mythology. These motifs form patterns that can literally be decoded like astral records, like a cosmic logbook of your inner self. You aren't just having random dreams, guys. You're authoring a continuous symbolic autobiography every single night.
Moving on to Section 2, the three-stage recall technique, from fragments to cinematic sequences.
Because to actually retrieve these records, you can't just rely on crossing your fingers and hoping you remember. You need a highly specific, three-stage technique: recall, reconstruction, and interpretation. So let's break down exactly how to execute this so you can start successfully capturing those nighttime narratives. Okay, during that first stage, recall, this instruction from the source is absolutely vital. Anchor yourself in the moment of waking and capture fragments before they dissolve. Look, when you first open your eyes, your gut instinct is to move, right? To grab your phone, to stretch out. But to access these records, you have to fight that urge and remain entirely still. You have to anchor yourself physically and mentally in that exact moment of waking. This stillness is exactly what lets you catch those fragile sensory fragments and the emotional tone before the pure momentum of the morning entirely wipes them out.
So once you've secured those fragments, you move right into the reconstruction phase. This is where you focus slowly and deliberately on specific sensory details. What did the light actually look like? Was the space echoing with a certain sound? How did movement feel? By actively answering these kinds of questions, you take a tiny disappearing fragment and blow it up into a full narrative. You aren't just remembering a static image anymore. You're actively reconstructing the symbolic anchors piece by piece, sensory detail by sensory detail.
And then comes the third and final stage, interpretation. This is where the whole shebang comes together. You've got the cinematic narrative, but now you have to align those dream symbols directly with your ongoing life cycles, career shifts, or emotional transitions. Honestly, this is the magic step. This transforms vague, confusing memories into crystal-clear cinematic sequences that you can replay with absolute clarity and apply directly to whatever you're dealing with during your waking day.
All right, let's head into Section 3, opening the astral vault, the impact of decoding your dreams.
Because, you see, by accessing your past dreams in vivid detail, you aren't just keeping some quirky little dream journal on your nightstand. No, you're opening a vault of astral experiences and hidden cities, which are basically untapped inner powers. These records reveal repeating mistakes you need to avoid, emotional cycles that keep returning in waves, and literal turning points that foreshadow real-world events. The more vividly you reconstruct these moments, the more they stop being scattered fragments and turn into a continuous narrative, offering profound, actionable foresight for your real life.
Every single morning, millions of people just throw away these billion insights, these hidden opportunities, and all this crucial foresight. But starting tonight, you actually have the tools to capture them. You understand the surface story versus the archetypal pattern, and you've got the 3 stages of recall, reconstruction, and interpretation right in your back pocket. Your astral vault opens tonight. So, what encrypted records will you decode tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, sleep well.